Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we are talking about a Robert Oster ink, newly released in the last couple of days. It is Velvet Crush. Here it is seen on a colouring card, and here is the standard 50ml bottle that Velvet Crush comes in. This is a really interesting sort of violet-y purple colour depending on the shading. Sometimes even on some paper sort of has this sort of grey undertone, and in this case has quite an interesting sort of greeny gold sheen in the right circumstances. You won't find this much in writing, but it does pop up occasionally, particularly on really ink resistant paper. So let's look at it here on Rhodia, because that's where I have it, and done the basic sort of tests here. So as you can see, as I said, it's a sort of an interesting sort of purpley violet colour with some gold sheen, which has come up in that swab there. It's an interesting colour. It dries darker than it goes on, and you'll see that when I do the writing sample, hopefully. It's good to fair shading, like it does have some nice sort of darker qualities. I think if I bring this up nice and close, you can see there that it does shade quite a lot, actually. But it isn't the wettest ink. I've certainly had had inks that sort of do tend to sort of flow better or feel sort of less draggy on the page, if that makes sense. More lubricated, one might say. But what I thought I'd do quickly here is let's have a quick look at some chromatography first. You can see quite a lot is left behind, actually, sort of in that sort of lighter sort of purple colour. It's quite nice, actually, and goes up through to sort of a darker, sort of almost dusty, lilac-y sort of colour, and then with some sort of more bright, vibrant purple at the top, which I think really comes through. Let's look at a few colour comparisons. So here we have, of course, as I said, the Velvet Crush from Robert Oster. And first ink we have here is the Birmingham Ink Company Andy Warhol Pop Art Purple, which is a little bit more purple, a bit more vibrant, but has some similar shades in the darker colours. Same as this one here, which is Colourverse Einstein Ring, which shares some similar properties, but I think sort of has a bit more, once again, a bit more vibrancy to the colour. Pelican Violet, the lighter shades are quite similar, but the darker shade in this is not quite as dense as the Robert Oster Velvet Crush. Lamy Violet has once again some similarities, a bit like the Pelican, not quite as dark. And then just for comparison's sake, here it is alongside my favourite ink, Lamy Dark Lilac, which is a lot more vibrant purple, but shares a little bit of that similar gold sheen, which doesn't come up quite so well in this photo, but anyone who's used the ink can attest for the fact that it is definitely there. Okay, let's now have a quick do a quick writing sample. I have it here inked up in the TWSBI Eco Broad, the standard sort of ink review pen that I've been using, and we'll just do a quick writing sample, and hopefully you'll get a sense of that sort of colour shift as it dries. So that is actually quite a wet writing sample, and in comparison to sort of what a lot of the rest of the test sort of did, this was primed. It had been left for a few days after writing out this, but as you can see, as it's drying, it's going from sort of that more plummy purple colour to sort of the more grey purple, particularly in these sort of lighter areas. It's not dissimilar in some ways in that respect to, say, like Mont Blanc Lavender Purple, which has that same sort of colour shade changing as it dries, but this sort of dries with a bit more grey in it. Okay, let's do let's drop some water on here, and then I'll show you it on a few other brands of paper, and then we'll see how it deals with the water. So I'm just going to drop some water on this, and we'll leave it there for a couple of minutes. Then I will take my wet cotton bud here and just run it across the numbers a few times there, just to see what we gain or lose. Okay, so let's start from the bottom up. Here we have it on the standard sort of student notepad. It's quite a dull sort of grey purple colour on this paper, but this paper does absorb a lot of the colour out. You can see there's a bit of feathering, not a whole lot, certainly no worse than a lot of other brands of paper. And then on the reverse here, you can see there's just the ever so slight amount of bleed. It's really performing pretty well in that respect. I've seen a lot worse from inks that have suggested that they are more bleed resistant, so this is good. The next paper is the Reflex copy paper. This is just the 80-gram paper from your local office supply store. It performs pretty well. It's that grey purple again, which I actually do quite like, but I don't think it's what was intended for the ink. And it's sort of got a bit of feathering, but not much at all. Like, really, that's pretty good. And on the reverse, there's almost nothing there. A couple of spots where we laid down a bit of ink, with the crosshatches and things like that. So once again, really well, it performs beautifully. And then here we have it on some Tomoe River. Here it is. This is a Hobonichi Weeks book, and it performs beautifully. So I've got sort of a drier sample there, and then the wetter sample. You're not getting any of the sheen coming up, unfortunately, but what you do see is beautiful shading and the fact that the ink performs really, really well. On the reverse, this show through, and there's a little bit of bleed there where I sort of did a couple of passes, but really that's pretty good. No bleed through there, and other inks have bled through here, as you can see, on a bit more than that with some other inks that I've done. Now I just wanted to show to you here the Tomoe River again on in a different book, but where you picked up a lot of that sort of that sheen there. So, but that was laying down a lot of ink. That was sort of ink drops and stuff like that. Once again, you can't pick it up, but there is some in this writing, but you're not going to actually see it, I don't think, on camera. But it's a beautiful coloured ink, and I think it actually looks really great. All right, so now this water test. I'll just dab this up with a piece of paper towel, and let's see what is left behind. So what we get, as you can see, there's actually quite a lot of the detail put into the paper towel, funnily enough. What we do get is most of the detail is missing. Where it was rubbed across with the numbers, I don't think that could be considered legible anymore. And we lose a lot of the detail here. You're left with sort of this dark grey sort of colour, almost the bluey sort of colours that are left. If you look at the chromatography, again, you can see a lot of the sort of remnants of that lower colour coming still in there. But you've got to say that's pretty low water resistance, really. So let's mark that up here. Let's call it a low. Okay, so let's just talk through these sort of criteria now. Shimmer, no, it's not, no particulates in this ink. Sheen, yes, in the right circumstances. You're not going to get it in everyday writing, but if you are doing anything that sort of lays down a lot of ink, if you're using things like folded nibs and things like that, you might get a bit more. Shading, yes, fair. I'm going to say fair to good because there's quite a lot actually. Water resistance is low. Wetness and flow, fair. As you can see, when the pen is wet, you get a nice flow, but in a dry pen, it does sort of tend to be a bit sort of washed out. Dry time, 30 seconds on Rhodia, so it's not a fast drying ink. Cleaning is fair. I had this in one other pen just to test it out. Cleaned out relatively easy. Standard cartridge converter pen, no issues. No staining, nothing like that. Feathering is low, bleed is low. I'll skip overall performance because I'll come back to that one. Value is fair, so these bottles retail for around the $20 mark, depending on your currency. It's 50 mils of ink from a boutique brand. It's not, Diamine or anything like that. It's still, although they've got one of the widest ranges of colours on the market at the moment, it's not a big brand. It's one guy in South Australia, but it is an Australian brand, so get behind it. And then, they're a good brand, environmentally friendly and socially conscious and all of that sort of stuff. Now, personal, I think this is a good to very good ink. I think the performance is very good in terms of the bleeding and feathering and all of that sort of cleaning and all of that sort of thing. Dry time is a little bit slow. There are a few sort of issues with water resistance and things like that, but generally a fairly good ink. For writing, I think it looks pretty good. Overall performance. Now, this is what it comes down to. This is where we get the ranking or the score. I think because of the fact that it doesn't bleed heavily, it doesn't feather heavily, and all of that, you've got to rank it up fairly highly. So I'm going to give this ink a 4 out of 5. And that's not taking, I like the colour, I like purples. It is a beautiful colour. There's a little bit of sheen there to be had, all of that sort of stuff. But just on the basics of, you know, ink, does it bleed, does it feather, you know, spreading and all of that sort of stuff, this is a pretty good ink. So that was Robert Oster Velvet Crush. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @the_ostage_me. And if you've got things I should be looking at, let me know. Or if you've got a way you'd like to support this channel, get in touch and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy your ink, and I'll talk to you later.